Hello and welcome to Conversations with me, your host Sarahina Mayoyo, where we'll be talking all things women empowerment. Now, in our society, women have been bound for such a long time, and there have been initiatives made to emancipate women, but there is an aspect that we haven't looked at in this emancipation, and that is, why are we being freed? The purpose of this emancipation. Now, don't get me wrong, it is important to emancipate women. But do women know what to do with their freedom? Do they know why they're being emancipated?
Passion without a purpose is like a shot without a target, by Enoch Onucha.
So this is what Enoch is talking about, knowing the reason why you do the things you do and the purpose of why you are alive. I'm joined by my co-host today who's going to help me delve deeper into this conversation. So stay tuned. Welcome to the show. Please, would you introduce yourself and tell us a bit more of who you are?
Well, my name is Matseho Njumbuka. I am, first and foremost, a child of God. I'm a woman. I'm a mother to 3 beautiful children. I'm a partner. I am a sister. I am a cousin. And I'm a professional as well. I'm a content producer for a certain company. Most importantly as well, and I believe the reason why I'm here, I'm a friend. And I'm a very good friend to you, Sarah, but I'll leave that up to you.
Thank you so much, and I think we know a bit more about you. So what we're talking about today, and our topic really is let her go, letting the woman go. And before I even go further on this topic, I want to know, when you saw the topic, let her go, what came into your mind? What did you think?
A lot of things, really. A lot of things, but most importantly for me, it meant letting go of past experiences, past hurtful experiences. Maybe letting go of the child that doesn't serve much of a purpose in your life currently. Letting go of things that are not adding much value to your life. And I was very excited about the topic because I feel like there's a lot of things that I would like to let go of as well. So, as you know, I was very excited to sit down and just have a conversation with you about that.
Okay, awesome. I like that. And I think a lot of women would go through that as well when they see this topic. Uguti, it's talking about letting go of certain things, letting go of baggage. And I think, we've focused a lot on that. We've focused a lot on letting go of baggage, letting go of pain that we've gone through. But today I've got a different angle, that I'd like us to explore in terms of letting her go. And, as even we started with the show, we spoke about purpose and why you want to let go so much. So I love the fact that you actually said you would love to let go of certain things as well. So perhaps also letting yourself go from those things. But do you know the reason why?
For me, I would think letting go, or the purpose of letting go, is moving on to the next level.
Okay.
Because should you stand in the same position with the things that are holding you back, you can't move forward.
Yeah.
So for me, my everyday life is about putting one foot in front of the other and moving forward. But the purpose part of it, I've never actually thought about it.
And for me, I think it's so important what you've just said, because it shows that we have different reasons why we want freedom.
Or sometimes we don't even know that we need it.
Yeah, we've got different reasons why we want to be emancipated. When I actually read this topic back to myself, it reminded me of something I'd read in the Bible, where God sent Moses, and Moses' message was, "Let my people go." But that sentence is not finished. Let my people go. There's a so after that, so that they can worship me. So the Israelites had a purpose why they were being freed. They were not just being freed to go outside and, they were being freed so that they can worship God. And I think it's very important for us to look into that. Uguti, when we are being freed and when we are excited about this emancipation, there is a purpose. There's a reason why Matseho must be freed from whatever it is that is holding her back. The work that I do as well opens me up to this importance of purpose. I do work with homes of safety, right? And what happens there is that women who come from abusive backgrounds, they run to these shelters, right? And they stay there for something like 7 months. Now, whilst they're there, they are getting tended to, comfort, and, quite a lot of things happen to them there. After 7 months, they have to leave. Now, maybe a lot of freedom happened whilst they were there. Maybe when they went into the home, they went there saying, I want to be freed from this abusive situation. But what happens is that when they leave the home, they actually forget, or perhaps not forget, they don't know the purpose of the freedom they got in the 7 months. Some of them go back to the abusive situations because perhaps as much as there was freedom being given to them in the home, they were not told what to do with it. What do you do with the freedom now that you've got it, right?
Yes. On that, though, on that very example that you use, practically, these women are taken from abusive situations or whatever situation that's holding you back.
Yeah.
And they're taken to this place of safety where they are taught and they're given tools of freedom. But reality is, freedom may be there in your head, and you might have the tangible tools, but you have to go back to the environment that initially shackled you.
Yeah. Not necessarily. Some people might go back, some people might decide to move on, but when you go back, let's say you go back to the home that you were being abused in, you can't go back as the victim again. So what we're talking about is going back to the same position. And that's what I'm speaking to say that if a person is going back to their husband and to make their marriage work, that is fine and that's beautiful. But you can't go back, revert to the victim that was freed. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you go back not as a victim anymore, but somebody who was freed, who is able to make decisions and say that I'm here to make things work instead of falling back, to that victim position. But also, when we look at this, we need to look at another, side of it and the other side of the coin, where there are women who use their freedom to actually take freedom away from others. There are women who, because now they are emancipated, for instance, let's talk about women empowerment in our country in South Africa. Women have positions now. Women can be CEOs of companies. But now, because I'm freed and I don't have purpose, I don't know why I'm being freed, I go and I become a CEO and I trample over every other woman, I am free now, but I want to exert, my freedom and my power over others. That's another way of looking at it, to say that perhaps when I was being freed, I wasn't given the purpose why I was being freed. And I was just given freedom. And now I don't know what to do with it. And I actually break others whilst I'm being free. And I think I'm just exercising my freedom. So that's why I thought it was so important for us to actually talk about this conversation, because yes, freedom, very much so. It is needed. In our country right now, women still need a lot of emancipation, but women need to also be empowered and taught why are you being freed and what to do with that freedom. Is it to hit back? Is it for avenging? Let's avenge ourselves, to the people that actually have suppressed us. Why are we actually being freed? And that's what I'm looking at.
And I think the more, the freer we are, the more able we are to free others.
Yeah. I just want us to take a break, and then we can come back and continue on that note. Stay tuned. I want to encourage every woman to own their story. And when I say own their story, I mean everything. The good, the ugly, the bad. Also the stretch marks, the glow, and everything in between. So let's chat on Chatting with Sarahina. This show is about connecting you to your journey to validate your walk. Also, what it's about is a non-judgmental space where women can come together and speak about their issues. It also is for every woman. And when I say every woman, I mean all of us. So join us so that we can listen to each other's stories and actually help one another. Welcome back. And before the ad break, we were talking about a topic that says let her go. And as we were talking about it, we actually wanted to look at the purpose of our freedom. You know, it's very important for women to be emancipated right now. I think a lot of us would agree. But it's important for women to know how to use that freedom once they have it. We spoke and we looked at how a woman would express their freedom. For instance, if a woman is now given an opportunity to be in a big position, will they exert their power on others, or will they use that freedom to actually empower others? Or also, when women are being freed from situations, abusive situations, will they step out and become, full people, or will they go back to becoming victims? That's what we were talking about. And Matsaho, before we went on break, you were actually talking about
freeing yourself so that you can free the next person.
Yeah?
Yes. And I think, because of the role women play in society holistically, you touch on a woman being a CEO. We can't run away from the fact that women by nature are motherly.
Yeah.
By nature, they're supposed to heal. And by nature, they are supposed to touch, different aspects of people's lives. If you're a mother at home and you are not free, then it affects your husband, it affects your children. If you're a CEO and you've got this powerful role, but you're not free and you're not emancipated, or you don't understand the purpose of your emancipation, everyone else gets to be affected by that. In the community, you're a woman, you are your neighbor's kids and all of that. If you don't understand your emancipation and you don't understand the purpose of your emancipation, those people suffer.
Exactly.
So that was the point that I was coming up with. Understanding your freedom and how it affects then the next person.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, because that's very powerful. Now, I love using practical examples when I talk. I don't like to just give theory. And I'd like to use my own life as an example. Coming from a background of abuse and everything that I'd gone through, and being a very angry adult woman, right? And then now this freedom is introduced in my life. I'm successful now. I've got a career, and I'm getting married to a good man, and I've got a family. There was a time in my life where it was so important for me to go back and make certain statements to people who perhaps thought I would never make it, to the people that actually hurt me, right? So I wanted them to see the freed me, So my freedom was very connected to what they're going to say, right? And as a result, that thing of going back home with your big car,
people
and
must see you,
and your beautiful baby, and people must see and be like,
your lovely husband,
exactly,
beautiful picture.
But now the sad part about it is you miss out on living purpose, because when I actually walked my journey and discovered the purpose of why I was being freed, I actually got to realize that I was being freed so that I can go free others. The purpose of me being freed was for me to go back and help others heal from what I, got freed from and heal from. Now, imagine if I was still stuck on the avenging, on the revenge part of things, where I just want people to see me succeed. I just want to be in their faces to say, yeah, what were you saying about me? So I think the reason why I also wanted us to talk about this is realizing that a lot of women are missing their purpose. A lot of women have been freed now, and we may not see it because of this purpose issue. We may think that women haven't been emancipated yet, and we still think we need placards. And a lot of women have been given opportunities to be free, but the way they are using their freedom seems as though they're still stuck and they're still bound. So it's for me, it's very important that we get this right, so that we're able to use our freedom in the way that we should.
That's powerful.
Yeah,
that's powerful. And I'm thinking, with how I've actually come up in my life and the kind of woman that I ended up being, or the kind of woman that I'm supposed to be, I'm thinking that there's different phases of emancipation and getting to a point where you understand then therefore the purpose of emancipation, right? Do you want to perhaps take us through that and just kind of explain, just in case someone out there is listening and thinking, okay, fine, I think I am free, but what now?
Yeah, and it's important for us to understand the stages, right? Because there are stages and they're natural, So the stage I'm talking about, where I wanted revenge,
wanted people to
still wanted to make statements and wanted to prove points, that is part of the stages, leading up to purpose.
I'm happy you say that, so that people don't think, okay,
there's something wrong with me.
yes.
So there are stages, but it's important for us to move with the stages. Remember, steps are not for you to get to one step and then stay. They are for you to move, to take the next step, to go up. So I think it's important for us as women to start taking accountability. To start taking responsibility, because we've blamed people for so many things, but we are stuck because of ourselves now. And it's important for us to actually take the responsibility to say that, okay, let me look at me now. The reason why I'm still stuck, is it really these people, or is it just me now not wanting to move to the next level of this journey of mine, of this freedom journey of mine? And I realized how powerful my life became when I actually started stepping into the purpose of my emancipation. And I think women, we limit ourselves if we don't get to the purpose of our emancipation, because you don't get to see and experience what you can become, which is greater than what you've seen yourself. So yes, you are a CEO, you're driving a beautiful German car. Big ups to you. But there's bigger. There's more that you can be, and it starts with us understanding the purpose of why women have to be free.
So it's an ongoing journey. It's actually a never-ending journey.
Yeah, you don't get to a point where you say, I've made it.
Now I get it.
Yeah, but it's important to progress. Progress is very important in this journey. Otherwise, you're stuck. And then you don't serve anyone, any purpose, any good, really, and even yourself, Also, as you introduced yourself, you are a mother to 3 beautiful children. Those 3 beautiful children they require you to know why you have to be a free woman. So that you don't teach, if it's a daughter, you don't teach your daughter bitterness in your freedom. But also you don't teach your sons violence in your freedom. You don't teach your children that because I'm a free woman, I can say men are trash. So it becomes so important that it influences everything around us.
Powerful.
So yeah, that's what we are talking about, and that's why I think it's important for women to have these kind of conversations.
And I think the first step would be introspection, getting to a point where you are able to look yourself in the mirror and say, whatever it is that has happened in my past, it was supposed to happen. Might not have been the greatest of things, but was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
What can you say, maybe? What can you say to someone who is possibly thinking, why, God, did you let this thing happen to me?
Okay.
And because the same God is the one who is going to release you from that pain.
Okay. And I think now we're going to solutions. So before we go to the solutions, I think I'd like us to take an ad break.
The title of the book is Myself in a Red Dress, and it's somebody on the floor who is soiled, who is dirty. And it's about getting somebody up from whatever it is that's keeping them on the floor. I fell in love with my abuser, but God, the comma for me is very important. Because all of us have a story there. I fell in love with my abuser. You've got your own. The full stop, that's not the end of the story.
Yes.
It ends with a comma, and after the comma comes back. I don't care what was before.
Yes, hallelujah now. Hallelujah.
Welcome back. You're still watching Chatting with Sarahina. And before the break, we were still talking about letting her go and the emancipation of women. And we were looking at the purpose, why women must be free, and also the importance of why women need to know how to use their freedom. For an example, you may be free now, women are emancipated enough to go after big, positions, CEO, all these beautiful things that we are now, opened to as women. But you may be a CEO there and you think you are free, but somewhere in your life, because you don't know how to use that freedom and you don't have the purpose why you are emancipated, you may be using it to actually put other people down. In your home, for instance. Yes, you may be a beautiful person at work, but your husband knows a different side of you because you are using your purpose, your freedom, your emancipation to put him down. So it's very important for us to understand why we are being freed and also how to use that freedom. And I think when we were talking, it was important for us to actually even look at the different scenarios at women and how women who don't know why they're freed right now. Because yes, we do have women who have been freed from, we spoke about abuse, for instance, earlier, and women who've been through abuse, but also women who've been financially, emancipated. In terms of society, women can be looked at as figures now, role models. When we're growing up, men were role models. Now women can be role models. So all those different people, and now being aware of why they are free.
And another aspect that I want to bring in, like you said, financial emancipation. Now, all of a sudden, you've got more money, even in the household, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've got more money, and maybe more money than your husband. And then how do you go back to a position of still being the empowerer, even though you've got more power? And as we're talking, I'm thinking of a good example. I would say it's a good example in my perspective, because I've been in, I don't know, you as well have been in the corporate world for a while, for many years. And now think of being a young black woman walking into the boardroom with a host of perceivably powerful white people.
Yeah.
Now, because of the lack of emancipation in the head from where you come from, now being in that being in that environment and thriving was very difficult. I know for me, I even quit a job because I was not thriving in that environment. Even before I spoke, I would speak to my head, in myself, in my head, in my mind, and I would ask myself, like, where do you get off? Where do you get the guts to even have an opinion about what people are talking about here? Once I got out of that mentality, I was able then to go to the next level. As a result, now I can tell my kids that there's no such thing as superior people. Everyone is equal to you. You are able to stand up for your rights and speak for yourself.
Exactly.
Because of the emancipating I had to go through, the mental emancipation I had to go through.
I think now you've actually gone into the mental sphere and how important it is for us to actually have mental emancipation first before we can enjoy the fruits of the emancipation. So actually what this speaks to is to show us that emancipation is not physical. It's actually
that's powerful.
Mental.
That's powerful.
Because then the mental emancipation speaks to everything else, in terms of physical. So we'll see how free you are mentally in how you deal with your freedom. So as a powerful woman, wherever you are powerful, be it in church, be it in your home where you are the breadwinner at home, be it in a corporate sense where you are the CEO, we'll know how emancipated you are mentally by how you actually weigh your emancipation.
And how you treat people.
So it actually is such an important aspect that you've brought now for us to realize that perhaps for us to know purpose and the reason why we are freed, we have to start the freedom in our minds. Because, I'm going to deviate a bit here, but it's fine. We're talking about women. But I'm looking at South Africa. Perhaps we can call South Africa a woman and we can say her to South Africa. But we can say that as South Africans, we talk about freedom from 1994 and all of these things. But physically, we're not seeing this freedom. Perhaps this freedom shouldn't have started physically for us. It should have started mentally, so that it can speak to the physical. So even for women as well, it's the same, where our emancipation has to come from the mind. So that a woman also who has been freed totally, the example of the homes of safety, can come out of that safe zone and say that, where am I going? What's next for me? If I'm going back there, I'm going to go back with demands. This and this and this can no longer happen in this home. Or I walk away and I go and I start, But it's very important for that decision to happen internally and that freedom to influence the outside from within.
That's powerful.
So and whilst we're talking about, and on that point, I'd like for you to give us your last thoughts perhaps on this topic and what we've been talking about in terms of purpose, for our emancipation, purpose for freedom, how we actually wear our freedom, and how we show it and experience, you know.
When we started, you made a very profound example of the Israelites being emancipated from Egypt. And even earlier when we were having our conversation, we spoke about how you need to first introspect. You need to be aware that you are in chains and that you're shackled by that situation, whatever situation that is. It doesn't necessarily have to be abuse.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily have to be anything other than, it can be whatever it is that you're going through.
It's a
You
jail.
need to sit down and be aware and introspect so that you can be able to move forward.
Yeah.
Right? And for me, it always goes back to God. It always goes back to my identity. And my identity for me comes from Him.
Okay.
It goes back to those moments, those silent moments that I spend with Him. Those you know, pearls and those things that He shares with me about that remind me about who I am in Him, so that I can be able to know who I am and I can be able to project it to everyone else. So for me, that would be the little advice that I would give. If you can spend more time with God, you get to know who you are in Him, and then you get to know who you are with everyone else.
Okay. So you are saying that identity plays a big role
I believe so.
in terms of understanding your purpose and why you are being freed. All right. And I think that also makes sense to me, because I think when you know who you are and when you can actually understand why you are, right? So who you are and why you are, then even the blessings and the gifts that God gives you, freedom being one of the gifts, you'll know how to bring them out, because you understand you and why you are. So that's very powerful, and thank you so much for that point, and thank you for joining us
Is it
on
time
the
already?
show. Yes, it's time. We're having
Gosh, how
fun, right?
Time flies, eh?
Yeah, so thank you so much for joining us and for bringing your perspective into this conversation. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
When your pain meets your purpose, your destiny gets birthed. This is a quotation I created many years ago when I actually understood the role purpose plays in our lives. Now, as women, it's important for us to understand how powerful we are. I mean, we've been entrusted with such an amazing position to be nurturers and to build nations, which actually means that we influence everything we see around us. So perhaps if we're not happy with what we see and what is happening, we need to start looking at ourselves and what we've been influencing. Now, it's important for women to actually be free for themselves first. When you board an aeroplane, when they give you the rules, they tell you it is important for you to help yourself first before you help the next passenger. You have to put that oxygen mask on your face first before you help the next person. So it means that as women as well, we need to be true to ourselves. When we are emancipated, let's not make it about anybody else but ourselves. Let us be free to ourselves, and then our freedom will influence everybody else. Thank you for joining us today. Let's meet in the next episode. Goodbye.